Have you noticed that time feels like it's vibrating? That the world is moving too fast to process, and the person you were just 2 years ago feels like a total stranger? You aren't losing your mind. You are experiencing a global recalibration of the human nervous system. This is the end of the old world way of thinking and the beginning of a 7 year cycle where your mind becomes the only territory that truly matters. Because this isn't just astrology, this is biology. Your brain is an electrical organ, your nervous system is electrical. Your body is receiving, filtering, decoding, rejecting, absorbing, and the world around you is becoming increasingly electrical, digital, synthetic, high frequency. There's more input, more noise, more distortion, more artificial thoughts. And if our body is depleted, if our breath is shallow, if our gut is inflamed, if our system is running on fumes, we won't experience this shift as clarity. We will experience it as anxiety, panic, exhaustion, overstimulation, mental fog, a feeling like something is trying to enter our minds before we even had the time to decide what is ours. Because the war for the mind begins with the war for the breath. Gemini rules the lungs, the breath, the arms, the hands, the channels through which thought becomes movement, speech, contact, signal. And Uranus in Gemini doesn't accelerate the mind, it electrifies the entire system that carries thought through the body. So, when your chest feels tight, when your breath becomes shallow, when your hands feel restless, when your nervous system feels like it's buzzing under your skin, don't dismiss it. That is where the frequency war becomes physical, and reclaiming the breath becomes an act of sovereignty. Because when we breathe deeply, consciously, fully, we are not just calming down, we are interrupting the hijack. We are telling our body, I am here, I am inside my own system, I refuse to be available, to be programmed by fear. And this matters now because Uranus in Gemini does not arrive into an empty world. It arrives into algorithms, it arrives into AI, it arrives into deep fakes, synthetic truths, created realities, distorted news, artificial voices, and systems designed to predict what you will think before you even form the thought yourself. This is not only fast thinking, this is the age of the synthetic thought. A world where the algorithm fills the silence if you do not own it first. A world where your attention is not just being distracted, it's being trained. And under this transit, information becomes weaponized. Mercury is the messenger. Mercury is also the trickster. Uranus is the higher voltage moving through that messenger. So, what comes through now may be brilliant, disruptive, liberating, or completely distorted. Listen closely. Discernment becomes survival, not paranoia. Discernment. If it doesn't resonate in the gut, it's noise. If your body contacts before your mind can explain why, listen. If something feels urgent but hollow, pause. If the information makes you forget your breath, your body, your center, it may not be truth. It may be a signal designed to pull you out of yourself. And that's why this episode is not about predicting your life. It's about recognizing the pattern that moves through your human template. Because the zodiac signs are not destiny, they are 12 ways humans react to change. The mutable signs process through movement and ideas. The fixed signs process through stability and building. The cardinal signs process through action and leadership. And in this episode, we're going to move through exactly what that means for you. For the mutable signs, for the fixed signs, for the cardinal signs. Not as something outside of you, but as a pattern that is already moving inside of you. And this is a bit of a long intro. It's also a bit of a long episode, so stay with me for a while, please. If you like my content, subscribe, comment, like, share. And I see you at the sign. I will ask if it's possible for timestamps so that you don't have to listen everything. Okay, thank you. So, for all of us moving through this mutable current, this isn't about peace, it's about clarity, sharp, immediate, undeniable, the kind that hits and changes everything after it. You will feel it. That moment something clicks and you can't go back. That is the signal. You're seeing what is real, and once you see it, your system adjusts. The body feels it first, the buzzing, the restlessness. Your mind's moving faster than you can track. Thoughts speeding up, words not always keeping up. This isn't random. This is what it feels like when your system stops filtering truth. And you've probably noticed it. The speed, your attention moving before your body follows. When it spikes, notice your breath, your hands, your chest. Stay just long enough to feel what's actually yours. So, let's begin. For the mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. For you, this doesn't feel like growth. It feels like something is slipping. Not all at once, not loud enough to name immediately, but enough that you notice the shift underneath everything. The version of you that knew how to move through life, respond, make sense of things, is no longer landing the same way. And maybe you've already felt it in the way your thoughts don't settle, in the way your attention moves faster than your body can follow. We're coming out of years of Taurus energy where things were slower, heavier, more grounded. Now everything accelerates. Information moves faster, decisions happen quicker, the mind becomes the main field. And this isn't just happening to you, it is happening collectively. The air is different, more noise, more input, more to process. Because this transition doesn't evolve you gently. It interrupts the pattern. It accelerates the mind before the system has adjusted. Uranus in Gemini doesn't stabilize anything. It exposes where you've been repeating instead of choosing. And once you start noticing that, something changes. Not outside first, inside. The shadow here is information addiction. Thinking that because you are learning, you are more growing. Thinking that because you're gathering more data, watching more, reading more, consuming more, you are getting closer to truth. But under this transit, more data can become a sophisticated way to avoid the truth. Don't let the speed of the mind become a bypass for the depth of the soul. Gemini, hi, I start with you. This is direct. There is no distance between you and the shift. It moves through your identity, your voice, your way of thinking. And at first, it feels like inconsistency, like you can't hold one version of yourself long enough to feel stable. You say things you didn't plan to say, conversations shift quickly, ideas come and go before you can ground them. You become harder to explain, not just to others, but to yourself. And that can feel destabilizing because if you can't define yourself, you can't control how you are perceived. But if you stay with it, instead of correcting it, something else emerges. Clarity, not stable, not fixed, but sharp. You begin to see patterns before they are visible. You feel shifts before they happen. The trap here is the scatter trap, moving so fast that you lose your center, chasing stimulation instead of meaning. When you notice yourself jumping, fragmenting, losing track, bring your awareness back into your breath, your hands, your voice as it's forming. Not to slow down, but to feel what is actually yours. The win here is vision. You start spotting trends, truths, directions before others can name them. Real life shifts here look like sudden opportunities, unexpected conversations, new roles opening because of how you think. The core truth, you don't need to be one thing to be real. You might catch yourself switching mid sentence. Notice it, don't correct it immediately. It can also be your intuition warning you. Your commands, I am the observer, not the noise. Virgo, This feels like pressure on everything that used to work. Your routines stop holding, workflows break, systems that once gave you control start slipping, and your instinct is to fix it, adjust it, make it make sense again. But the more you try to optimize it, the more you feel the gap. Because it is not broken, it is outdated, and something in you already knows that. You might notice this in your work, your daily rhythm, your expectations of yourself, things requiring more effort but giving less in return. The trap here is the fixed loop, overanalyzing instead of allowing movement, trying to solve what needs to be shifted. When the mental loop starts, notice where your body tightens, jaws, shoulders, breath, not to fix it, just to interrupt the pattern. The win is liberation, not controlled, not planned, not perfect, but real. New ways open when you stop forcing the old ones. Real life, this can look like career pivots, sudden changes in responsibilities, or letting go of something that once defined you. Core truth, you don't fix your way into alignment, you move into it. You might feel the urge to fix it now. Pause just long enough to see if it needs fixing at all. I am the observer, not the noise. Sagittarius, this shows up through others, through relationships, conversations, unexpected encounters that shift your perspective. What once felt stable now feels either restrictive or suddenly alive in a way that challenges you. People mirror things back to you that don't fit your current worldview, and that creates tension because you want truth, but you also want freedom. The trap here is the exit reflex, leaving too quickly, pulling away before something reveals its deeper meaning. You might notice this in relationships, collaborations, or even beliefs you drop too fast. When you feel the urge to escape, pause there. Stay just long enough to see what's actually being shown. And I'm laughing because I have Sagittarius in my big three, and it almost feels like a personal message to me because I'm very I have a tendency to do this. The win is expansion through connection. The right people stretch your beyond your current limits. Real life shifts look like new collaborations, unexpected partnerships, or relationships that feel electric but confronting. The core truth, freedom doesn't come from leaving, it comes from seeing. You might want to leave the moment it gets uncomfortable. Stay a breath longer. I am the observer, not the noise. Pisces, my fellow Pisces. This goes deeper than expected into your emotional patterns, your sense of home, your internal world. Something subtle shifts, and suddenly what felt safe feels unfamiliar. You might feel restless in your own space, disconnected from routines, or aware that something no longer fits emotionally. The instinct is to soften it, escape into something easier, something known. But if you stay with the discomfort, something becomes clear. This isn't about losing your foundation, it's about realizing it was built on things that weren't fully yours. The trap here is the drift, disconnecting from reality instead of reshaping it, floating instead of choosing. When you feel yourself slipping away, bring your awareness gently into your body, your surroundings, something physical. Not to force grounding, but to return. The win is emotional freedom, letting go of inherited expectations, old identities, or environments that no longer reflect who you are. Real life, this can look like moving, changing your living situation, or redefining your sense of belonging. Core truth, you don't have to disappear to feel safe. You might drift without noticing. Feel your feet, your space, just for a second. Your command, I am the observer, not the noise. For all mutable signs, the signal is clarity, not calm, not certainty, but sudden, sharp knowing. the kind that arrives instantly and changes everything after it. You'll feel it in flashes, in conversations, in moments where something clicks and you can't go back to not knowing. And this isn't just personal. The collective is speeding up. Information, communication, perception, it's all accelerating. Your nervous system feels it first. The buzzing, the restlessness, the sense that your mind is moving faster than your body. This isn't dysfunction. This is adjustment. But the shadow underneath it is escape, fragmenting, overthinking, leaving, drifting. And the moment you catch yourself doing that, not by judging it, but by seeing it, you create space. And from that space, something shifts, not into control, but into choice. The final truth, you're not losing stability, you are learning to recognize what was never yours to repeat. And after all that movement, all that speed, all that noise, something shifts. Not everything is meant to keep moving. At some point, something in us wants to hold, to anchor, to stay. And that's where we move into fixed energy. You've been holding this for a long time, longer than you needed to. And maybe you're starting to feel it. Not breaking yet, but pressing again and again. Not everything that feels like pressure is meant to be resisted. For the fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, this doesn't start with movement. It starts with pressure. Not loud, not chaotic, on the surface, but something underneath begins pushing against what you've been holding in place for years. Fixed energy stabilizes, it builds, it commits, it holds the line. And that's exactly why the shift feels different. After years of Uranus and Taurus, where the pressure lived in the body, the material world, survival, and control, we move into Gemini. The pressure lifts from the ground and enter the mind. And this isn't just personal. The collective is speeding up, information moves faster, truth shifts quicker. And for fixed science, the challenge isn't keeping up, it is letting go of what no longer moves. And because Uranus doesn't break what is flexible, Uranus breaks what refuse to shift. The shadow is rigidity as safety. You are holding onto a version of security that already died. And if you feel a grip in your body, the jaw, the throat, the chest, the belly, that is the ghost of a person that you no longer are. You are unclenching from a version of yourself that no longer breathes. Let, let the identity die so the sovereign can breathe. Taurus, something in your body exhales and something in your life destabilizes. The pressure that lived in your identity begins to release, but it doesn't disappear. It moves into your resources, your money, your sense of value. And at first, it might feel like a relief. Less tension in your body, more space in how you exist. But almost immediately, something shifts in how you relate to stability. What you own, what you earn, what you rely on stops feeling fixed. You might feel the urge to simplify, to let go, to detach from things that once felt essential. Or perhaps the opposite, to hold tighter, to secure more, to make sure nothing slips. That's where the tension lives. The trap is a scarcity spike, clinging or numbing, trying to create safety through accumulation or comfort. You might notice this in sudden financial shifts, changes of income, or questioning what you're working for. The moment you feel yourself gripping, notice your jaw. Notice your neck, your breath, not to force release, but to see where you're holding something that is already changing. Let the body unclench from the old division of safety. The win is a complete value reset. Money becomes fluid, opportunity becomes unexpected, and your worth detaches from what you produce. Real life shifts here look like new income streams, leaving outdated work or redefining what security even means. Core truth, your stability was never meant to be static. You might notice yourself checking what you have more often. Notice the grip, not the number. I am the flow, not the stone. Leo, your world becomes louder, not externally first, but energetically. You walk into spaces and feel everything. Social dynamic shifts. Groups feel different. Conversations carry more charge. And you notice it. How quickly you pick up on the energy of a room. How certain spaces suddenly feel off. How others feel electric. The future you imagined starts changing. Old goals don't land the same. The path you thought you were building begins to reconfigure, and that can feel disorienting because fixed energy commits. But Uranus doesn't ask for loyalty, it asks for truth. The trap here is the echo chamber, performing rebellion, creating identity, or staying rigid in your perspective while everything around you evolves. You might notice shifts in friendships, losing connection with certain groups, or feeling out of place where you once belonged. The moment you feel the tension, notice your chest, your breath, the subtle alertness in your system. Not everything is a threat. Some of it is information. Let the chest soften before you perform through it. The win is alignment with the right network. New communities, new collaborations, new visions that feel alive instead of performed. Core truth, you don't need to be seen by everyone to be real. You might feel off in spaces that used to fit. Pay attention to that before you perform through it. I am the flow, not the stone. Scorpio, for you, this goes deep, not on the surface, not in obvious ways, but underneath everything you thought you had control over. Uranus moves through your inner world, your patterns, your attachments, your emotional contracts, your shared spaces. And at first, it feels like insight, sudden clarity about people, about dynamics, about hidden truths. You see things faster, deeper, sharper. But this isn't just about seeing, it is about releasing. And that's where resistance shows up, because control feels safer than exposure. The trap here is the power lock, holding on to knowledge, control, or emotional distance to avoid vulnerability. You might notice sudden shifts in intimacy, shared finances, or emotional connections that force you to open in ways that you didn't choose. The moment you feel yourself tightening, notice your gut, your hips, the deeper layers of your body. This isn't just mental, it's stored. Let the body stop guarding the wound as if the wound is still the throne. The win is transformation without force, releasing patterns, ancestral weight, emotional depths that were never yours to carry. Real life shifts look like endings, breakthroughs in therapy or healing, or sudden changes in shared dynamics. The core truth, control was never the same as power. You might see everything clearly, but feel nothing move. Stay with that feeling in your body. I am the flow, not the stone. Aquarius, this feels like electricity returning, but not in a calm, controlled way, in waves. Sudden ideas, bursts of energy, creative impulses that don't wait for structure. You feel more alive, more restless, more aware of what wants to move through you. And that can feel exciting until it becomes overwhelming. Because it's not just one idea, it's many. Not one direction, multiple. And the challenge isn't excess, it's grounding. The trap here is the infinite loop, starting everything, committing to nothing, staying in the mind instead of bringing anything into form. You might notice creative surges followed by burnout or excitement that never fully lands. The moment you feel overloaded, notice your hands, your body, your physical space. Bring the idea into something tangible, even in the smallest ways. Let the current move through your body, not just the mind. The win is embodied creativity, ideas that don't just exist but becomes real. Real life shifts look like creative breakthroughs, new passions, or expressing yourself in ways that feel completely different from before. The core truth, your ideas matter when they take form. You might start everything at once. Choose one thing and touch it physically. I am the flow, not the stone. For all the fixed signs, the shadow is rigidity. The instinct to hold, to stay, to preserve what once worked. But the collective is shifting faster now. Information, identity, truth, it is all moving. And if you stay fixed in something that has already changed, the pressure builds until something gives. You'll feel it in the body first: jaw tension, breath holding, nervous system spikes. That's not random, that is resistance. And the moment you notice it, you have a choice: hold tighter or allow movement. Because this transit isn't here to break you, it's here to show you where you've already outgrown what you're holding. The final truth, what you are holding onto, isn't protecting you anymore. It's showing what's ready to move. And this isn't the kind of moment where you wait. You can feel that, can't you? The pull to move is already there, again and again. Not everything that feels urgent is true, but something in you is. So, for the cardinal signs: Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. This doesn't feel like pressure and it doesn't feel like fragmentation. This feels like urgency, a pull to move before you fully understand why. Cardinal energy initiates, it begins, it acts, and under Uranus in Gemini, that instinct becomes electric. Faster, sharper, less predictable. We're moving out of a Towers era that asked you to build, stabilize, and hold. Now the ground shifts into air. Thought becomes action, signal becomes direction. And this isn't just happening to you, the collective is accelerating. More input, more decisions, less time to wait. So action no longer comes from certainty, it comes first. Meaning follows after. And if you really check in with yourself, you can maybe already feel it, in a place where you don't have a full plan anymore, but something in you is already moving. And the shadow is reactive force, feeling the need to do something just to stop the feeling of pressure. But acting from pressure is just another form of being controlled. Real power is the ability to feel the urgency and choose the stillness instead. So let's begin with Aries. This hits your mind, your voice, your nervous system, your immediate environment. Everything speeds up: thoughts, reactions, speech. You may feel impatient, overstimulated, pulled into multiple conversations or ideas at once. Your environment becomes louder: messages, interactions, signals everywhere. Physically, this lives in your breath, your jaw, your shoulders, your hands. The body trying to keep up with your mind. Mentally, you are rewiring how you think and communicate. You are no longer here to repeat, you are here to initiate truth in real time. The trap here is the spark rush, acting or speaking before something has fully landed, mistaking urgency for clarity. You might notice sudden arguments, impulsive decisions, or saying something that shifts everything before you've processed it. The moment you feel that surge, notice your breath mid sentence, the tension in your jaw, not to stop, but to feel where the impulse is coming from. The win is precision in action, fast, clear decisions that cut through noise and create movement where others hesitate. Real life, this looks like initiating projects, conversations, or directions that change your trajectory quickly. You might speak before you fully know. Feel your breath before the next sentence lands. Core truth, you don't need certainty to begin, you need awareness. Sovereign comments, I am the choice, not the reaction. Cancer, this moves beneath the surface, into your subconscious, your inner world, your emotional memory. The change isn't always visible, but it's constant. You may feel more sensitive, more withdrawn at times, more aware of what's happening internally and energetically. Sleep patterns shift, dreams intensify, you pick up on what others don't say. Physically, this shows as nervous fatigue, emotional waves, breath constriction, the body processing more than the mind can explain. Mentally, you begin to see the deeper patterns behind your emotions. What is yours? What was learned? What was inherited? The trap here is the retreat loop, withdrawing too far, confusing isolation with safety, disappearing before something can be understood. You might cancel plans, pull back, or avoid situations that feel too intense. The moment you feel yourself closing off, notice your chest, your breathing, your environment. Not to force yourself out, but to stay just present enough. The win is intuitive clarity, not overwhelmed, not absorbed, but aware. Real life shifts look like setting boundaries, changing how you relate to family or emotional roles, or needing more intentional space. Core truth, you don't have to disappear to protect yourself. You might pull back too quickly. Stay present, just enough to understand what you feel. I am the choice, not the reaction. Libra, this expands your mind and challenges your balance. Your beliefs begin to shift. What once felt right may now feel incomplete. You are drawn to new ideas, perspectives, philosophies, conversations that stretch how you see the world. And this can feel exciting and destabilizing because Libra seeks harmony, but Uranus introduces disruption through truth. Mentally, you connect ideas faster. You see patterns in relationships, systems, and dynamics. Physically, this shows as tension in the hips, breath imbalance, subtle restlessness, when something feels off but you're trying to maintain peace. The trap here is the balance mask, maintaining harmony externally while internally something has already shifted. You might agree when you don't mean it, soften your truth, or delay decisions to avoid conflict. The moment you notice yourself doing that, feel your body, your stance, your breath. Not to correct it, but to recognize where you are holding both sides when one is already clear. The win is embodied truth, relationships that reorganize around honesty instead of performance. Real life shifts look like changing beliefs, redefining partnerships, or stepping into new directions that feel more aligned, even if they disrupt balance. Core truth, harmony without honesty is not alignment. You might agree before checking yourself. Notice where your body already chose. Capricorn, this moves into your work, your routines, your daily structure, your physical system. This is where life interrupts the machine. What used to work stops working the same way. Systems lose efficiency, routines feel heavier or harder to maintain, and your instinct is to tighten control, to fix the structure, to become more disciplined. But this isn't something you can force back into place. Physically, this shows up as fatigue, tension in hands and wrists, breath holding, a body that resists being pushed the same way. Mentally, you begin to question how you define productivity, success, and usefulness. The trap here is the control grid, trying to manage change by becoming more rigid, more structured, more fixed. You might overwork, overplan, or resist adjusting what clearly needs to shift. The moment you feel that pressure, notice your body, your pace, your breath. Not to stop working, but to see where you're forcing instead of adapting. The win is intelligent structure, systems that move with you instead of against you. Real life shifts look like changing work patterns, redefining success, or building something that fits who you are now, not who you were then. Core truth, structure should support you, not contain you. You might tighten your system, change one small thing instead of controlling everything. How hard it is. I am the choice, not the reaction. So, for all the cardinal signs, the core tension is movement without certainty, the urge to act before everything is clear, and the shadow underneath that is urgency without awareness, moving to escape the feeling instead of responding to truth. The collective is exhilarating, and you feel it first as pressure to decide, to act, to move. But not every impulse is truth. Some of it is noise. And your body tells you the difference in your breath, your tension, your nervous system. The moment you slow just enough to feel that, your movement changes. It becomes cleaner, more precise, less reactive. The final truth, you don't need the full path. You need to move from what is actually true now. So, having had all the signs, I want to thank you so very much for listening. There is another layer in this, but I'm going to save that for the next episode. So, if you liked my content, please subscribe, like, and share this if you think it was helpful. Of course, like always, stay safe, stay unharmed. This was Nix. This was the Nix frequency. I love you all so very much. Bye.